and I am from South Africa. It really is a case of hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, all over the world, wherever you may be. I am a trusted seller, so if anyone wants to increase their wallet by buying $100 of TBC, I will be able to help you to do that. Also, if there are any TBC orphans, I would like to welcome you and I will be able to help you with anything you are not sure about, such as explaining the promotions that TBC has given us and helping you to achieve your goals. You will find my email address and my Facebook address in the definitions below this broadcast. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the um, attitude and a positive and negative attitude. I was watching what Lawrence Maluleke was saying at the Send Button meeting last Monday, and thought I would like to research the issue around positive and negative attitudes, and this is the result. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. It is I just want to get there. I have written it all out in my Word as I researched it. So I'll just share that. Hold on a sec. Share, share. So our first question about our first question is, what is attitude? What is it when you talk about attitude? By attitudes, we mean the beliefs, feelings, and action tendencies of an individual or a group of individuals towards objects, ideas, and people. Quite often, persons and objects or ideas become associated in the minds of individuals, and as a result, attitudes become multidimensional and complex. Attitudes involve some knowledge of a situation. However, the essential aspect of the attitude is found in the fact that some characteristics, feeling, or emotion is experienced, and we would accordingly expect some definite tendency to action is associated. Subjectively, then, the important factor is the feeling or emotion that one experiences. I think we have seen this regularly in TBC, and people can change their attitude towards something or someone. These are factors influencing attitude. There are a number of factors that influence attitude, so let's have a look at them all. First of all, social factors. Every society has the majority of people who prefer to lead a harmonious life, and they try to avoid unnecessary friction of conflicts with people. Naturally, we are inclined to develop positive attitudes towards most of the people and issues. Our attitudes may facilitate and maintain our relationships with members of positively motivated groups. Social roles and social norms can have a strong influence on attitude. Social roles relate to how people are expected to behave in a particular role or context. Social norms involves the society's rules for what behaviors are considered appropriate. And then direct instruction. Sometimes direct instruction can influence attitude formation. For example, somebody gives information about the usefulness of some fruit. On the basis of this information, we can develop a positive or negative attitude about the fruit. This applies very strongly to TBC, and that is why it is so important to make a habit of always reading the blog in order to keep up with what is happening in TBC. Admin supplies us with all the information, but if we do not read it, how do you think this can influence us? If we do not keep up with information given to us, we will be ignorant and tend to develop a negative attitude towards TBC, complaining about not being able to have an exchange. When are the testers going to be able to do their thing? And when will we ever be able to access our money, etc., etc.? And so it goes on. The influence of the family. The family is the most powerful source of um, for the formation of attitudes. The parents, the elder brothers or sister provide information about various things. Attitudes developed by an individual, whether positive or negative, are the result of family influence and very and difficult to change. Then we have prejudices. An attitude may involve a prejudice in which we prejudice an issue without giving unbiased consideration to all the evidence. So many people don't bother, they just sort of look and they say, oh, TBC is a scam, and so on, but they don't give any unbiased consideration to the evidence that TBC is no scam. Prejudices are preconceived ideas or judgment which one develops some attitudes on some people, organizations, and so on. If we prejudge against a person who is accused of a crime, we may regard him as guilty regardless of evidence. But we can also be prejudging in favor of something. I think this applies very strongly to TBC. People have gotten used to how other cryptocurrencies work and are prejudged against TBC because we are not the same as those currencies. But TBC is still a private company and making money by selling peer to peer. It does not belong to any exchange. TBC price is linked to the membership, so it only goes up, whereas the cryptocurrencies are all market driven. Therefore, their prices are extremely volatile and they go up and down like a yo-yo all the time. Then there's the personal experience that does influence us. In order to be the basis of attitudes, personal experiences have left a strong impression. Therefore, the attitude will be more easily formed when personal experience involves emotional factors. In situations involving emotions, appreciation will be more in-depth experience and longer trace. For example, if somebody joins as a new person, a welcome and a place where to always receive assistance and advice whenever need goes goes a long way to creating positive attitude, not only to your but also towards TBC. It's just those little things that count, which we sometimes forget about giving, and then they become the person concerned becomes negative about TBC. But if we um, help that person and show them the way, give them the links to the blogs and the home office so that they know how to go about it, and tell them about the uh, promotions and that sort of thing. Then they sort of feel they are part of it. And then the media is very, very influential. As a means of communication, the mass media, such as television and radio, has a major influence on shaping people's opinions and beliefs. We in TBC deal a lot with media, such as Facebook, and are usually influenced by comments and posts made in Facebook, even though we do not realize it. That is why it is so important never to post negative comments in any of our Facebook posts. Um, it is a recognized fact that people tend to grab onto not only remember, but also spread a negative remark about an organization but never think of finding the positive side of the things. This happens time and time again. And of course, the trolls are just sitting there waiting to grab onto all the negative things as well. Now, as far as education and religious institutions have a big effect on whether our outlook on life as a system. Education and religious institutions have a strong influence on shaping attitudes because they lay the foundation of understanding and moral concepts uh, within the individual. Understanding the good and the bad and dividing the dividing line between something that can and cannot is obtained from the center of the education and religious uh, institutions. Then there are physical factors too which influence attitude. Clinical psychologists have generally recognized that the physical health and vitality are important factors in determining adjustment, and frequently it has been found that malnutrition or disease or accidents have interfered so seriously with normal development that serious behavioral disturbances have followed. Take, for example, the positive attitude of an athlete who practices regularly versus the person who is content just to sit at home all day and do nothing useful. Who do you think is going to have the best um, attitude? Naturally, the a person who athlete who practices and gets out and does things. Again, this can be likened to TBC. The person who is a builder and enthusiastic about TBC versus the one who is who has he or her TBC gift, and now just sits back and waits for it to grow. Attitudes are important in the study of social psychology because they influence the amount of attention and the type of judgment an individual may give to a product like TBC. Generally, we tend to assume that people behave in accordance with their attitudes. However, social psychologists have found that attitudes and actual behavior are not always perfectly aligned. Let's have a look at this. An attitude can be either positive or negative. It is common knowledge that a positive attitude feels better than having a negative one. But while the concept of positive thinking is something that is known to everyone, not all of us are aware of exactly how we can be optimistic every day and how to see the good in every situation. So let's have a look at the positive versus negative attitudes. There's a picture of um, a positive person, everything's right, thumbs up. And then the negative person, do you see that she's pointing towards herself? Because negative people tend to think only of themselves, and therefore they're never very happy. As soon as you have a positive person, it's a person who goes out. Um, what is the difference between the positive and negative attitude? Positive attitude individuals have a positive attitude with who have a positive attitude pay attention to the good rather than bad in people, situations, and events. A simple example of a positive attitude: when there is a change of plans in TBC, an admin explains why, such as having to change the blockchain and it taking a bit longer than what admin expected. The positive person will accept it and try to see things from admin's point of view, realizing that these things do happen and eventually they will all be fixed and be better than before. Now, that's your attitude. Well, that's good because you have a positive attitude. But the people with a negative attitude ignore the good and pay attention to the bad in people, situations, or events, and so on. For example, when in the same situation as above, people complain just because it does not suit them and refuse to realize that it is for the good. Instead, they only look for the negative in the situation. Does that perhaps remind you of someone? Now let's take a look at the real world. What differs positive attitude from a negative attitude and how to identify them? Here is some comparisons. First of all, the positive attitude. Individuals who have a positive attitude will pay attention to the good rather than bad in people, situation, events, and so on. The people with a negative attitude ignore the good and pay attention to the bad in people, situations, events, and everything. Positive attitudes are rewarded. It means that the individual is encouraged to do the same thing in future. Negative attitudes are punished in order to discourage the same action in future. If we think positive thoughts, we are surely experiencing such emotions as joy, love, gratitude, peace, and hope. But if we think negative thoughts, we will definitely have negative feelings such as anger, disappointment, irritation, envy, and so on. Having a positive attitude means a person believes everything happens for the best in the end. A person with a negative attitude tends to believe their best days are in the past. There's nothing to look forward to and considers it a waste of time and energy. It is an optimistic approach of a person who achieves good results. But it is a pessimistic mindset of a person who is not capable of handling critical issues. It can achieve a positive attitude, can achieve long term goals easily and in time, whereas negative attitude can achieve some initial goals, but not the long term goals. It is for positivity, it is a process of solving problems. So you see everything that comes your way as a problem that needs to be solved. You don't sort of thing where as a negative person, it is a process of looking for problems. So they always look for the problems, but a positive person will rather go out of their way to solve that problem, and they will solve it. A person with a positive attitude pays attention to the virtues of others, whereas negatively, a person with a negative attitude pays attention to other people's shortcomings. These persons always see opportunities in the positive side, but on the negative side, these persons see only limitations. So, in the conclusion of that is to categorize somebody as a positive attitude and negative attitude. People show a positive attitude for some things and a negative attitude for some things. So they could be either positive or negative in some things. This varies depending on the person's goal, economic status, motivation, skills, self belief, and opportunities. Now, you think, can the attitudes be changed? Can we differentiate a negative attitude with a positive attitude? A positive attitude can bring positive things to life. It is difficult to change attitudes, but with some effort, it can be done. The individual from a culturally deprived environment who holds an array of hostile attitudes may change after he is given opportunities for education. But a person from a privileged subculture who has always uh, held to a democratic attitude may become negative towards some group because of one unfortunate experience. Well established attitudes tend to be resistant to change, but others may be more amenable to change. Attitudes can be changed in a variety of ways. Now, the ways of changing attitudes are new formation. New information will help to change attitudes. Negative attitudes are mainly formed owing to insufficient information, such as people never bothering to read the blog regularly and do not watch the videos by the voice of TBC. Attitudes may change through direct experience, such as selling TBC to another TBC member and suddenly realizing that this can be done so they can make money. Another way in which attitudes can be changed is by resolving discrepancies between attitudes and behavior. Change of attitude can come through the persuasion of friends or peers. Um, so it's very important. That is very important because when you are perhaps in a chat group and there's somebody who is negative, that can spread to other people in that chat group very quickly. But if you come up with a positive comment, it sort of puts a stop to the negative and people think again. Um, Attitudes may change through legislation. Some person's attitudes are achieved in his membership group and reference group. One way to change the attitude is to modify one or the other. And this is why our chat groups in TBC are so very useful because they are all positive, and the people who lead the groups make sure that that they are positive. Whatever is said is positive. And then fear can change attitude. But if it is the low levels of fear that is used, people often ignore them. Changing the attitude differs with reference to the situation also. Okay, I'm just going to unshare my screen now. And yeah, we're back again. Um, Thank you so much for watching this. I hope it wasn't too sort of tedious for people to watch and listen to. Um, but thank you, and thank you so much for the people who took the trouble to come and join me in this evening so that we could know what I could speak about, what I have prepared. So I'm going to stop this broadcast now, and I'll see you all on Tuesday again.